One of my biggest fears as a kid was being homeless. Because I'm like, oh, fuck. No dad around, single mom around. My mom didn't have a lot of money, and I don't think it was a money issue. It was just, how was someone going to earn the money? Now that I'm an adult, I'm like, okay, I've kind of settled into this. And there's so many different fucking ways to earn money now that I'm like, it's just something that I think about with my kids. And I'm like, I hope that they find that settled in feeling of how they're going to earn money at a young age.
How do I get rich? Like really fucking rich. It's like baseball. You go up to bat and you just hope that you hit the ball well enough to get to first base. And then once you're on first base, just make it so you can get to second base. Hope the next batter, just so you can make it to third, just so you can get home. All you care about is just staying on the team. And one day you're going to go up to bat and that ball's going to come down that plate perfect. And you're going to recognize it and you're going to hit it. And you're going to have a home run and the bases are going to be loaded and then you're going to get a contract of your life. And then from there on out, you can pick and choose what you want to do and grow the wealth.
All right. Well, welcome to the TrueBooks Podcast. My name's Matt Bontrager, and I'm a CPA that runs TrueBooks. TrueBooks is a real estate focused CPA and tax firm that specializes in tax and accounting. And so the idea for this podcast was to have friends and sometimes clients on to talk about their experience with money and sometimes our relationship of being client and accountant, and also just other business experiences that they've ran into when it comes to money and finance. So without further ado, Josh, thanks for being here. Give me 30 seconds on yourself.
Well, Matt, thank you for having me. I love TrueBooks, and I love you as a person. I must start with that. You
right
are
out of the
most charismatic, energetic accountant I've ever met in my life. So on a personal level, I like you, and I appreciate you, and I think it's awesome to see what you've done with TrueBooks. So congrats.
Thanks, dude.
30 seconds on me. I am Josh Galindo. I am a real estate broker here in Las Vegas. I own a company called Galindo Group Real Estate. I am born and raised in Las Vegas. I have 4 children, 11, 9, 7, and 5. I'm happily married. I love the shit out of my amazing wife, Crystal Galindo.
Shout out to Crystal. She's great.
She is great. She's a champ. She's my business partner. A lot of people don't understand.
I was going to say, you guys are kind of a unit. It'd be nice to have
We are a unit. We are a unit. We always laugh and say it's us against the world. I can't wait to get a tattoo. I think a tattoo on her leg would look really sexy. So I'm like, you and I on her leg, or you and I.
Oh, we're going.
Anyway.
You get one, she gets one kind of thing.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm into it. I like it.
Against the world. So anyway, so my brokerage is the what I believe to be the greatest real estate brokerage in the city of Las Vegas. It's certainly the most recognized residential real estate brokerage in the city of Las Vegas. That was a goal I had 2 years ago. I think I've fully accomplished that. We have 175 to 185 agents at any one time. Our goal is to get to 200 agents. Our brokerage is very rich in culture, in having fun, and making money, and sharing the wealth. It's really important for me to set the tone at the brokerage that there's enough to go around. You can share information. You'll probably make more money by sharing, and you'll be helping somebody that needs the help in their journey through the real estate world. I am a house flipper. I have flipped about 1,200 plus homes, which means I've bought 1,200 homes, renovated 1,200 homes, and sold 1,200 plus homes. So essentially, I've done 35 to 4,000 different types of transactions, if you count my retail transactions as well. I am hit with different unique scenarios by my agents weekly, daily. So then I have to work my way through those. So I would argue I'm one of the most experienced residential real estate guys here in Las Vegas. I have to self-promote because I get 30 seconds or more to do it. And I love being a landlord. I think the way to true wealth through real estate is owning long-term rentals.
Yep.
I think if you want to get rich, you flip houses. And if you want to be wealthy, you own them. So that is my 30 seconds. I've got more.
I was going to say, you could go 30 minutes.
Yeah.
The first thing that I want to jump into quick and ask, because I have somewhat of a series of questions that I'd send you that we'll go over. But
I'm an open book. Hit me
one
with
of
anything.
the things that does ring true to me, though, when I hear you talk about you being a broker, is by far one of the most experienced. And the reason, Well, the reason is, right, and we, as a CPA firm that helps brokers and real estate agents, we have brokers as clients, is I don't see other brokers, and not necessarily like walking the talk or like, walking the walk, but you had so much experience, I feel like, before becoming a broker in the real estate space that now that you are one, with that many agents, as they come to you with questions, there's probably a rare case that you haven't experienced something that they're fucking dealing with.
Yes. It's a rare situation when I've never personally dealt with it. And even if I haven't personally dealt with it, I've heard about somebody else having dealt with it and then understood the solution and know how to provide assistance to the agent. But you're totally right, because I didn't start out as, it's kind of an interesting journey. I didn't start out as a broker. I didn't start out as a brokey on Instagram, using Instagram to get rich.
Yep.
I did everything like
that. Is a big piece that I respect about you for sure, which we had talked about when I first met you.
Yeah,
yes.
There's an argument that you could do it either way, but I was always committed. I was like, I want to perfect my craft. I want to get good at it. And before I go on Instagram and fake flex, I want to be authentic. And so I worked hard, built up a rental portfolio, a bankroll, and then went on Instagram and said, hey guys, this is how I did it. So I could speak from a space of authenticity. And then the same thing with the brokerage. I went and before I became like before I made it a focus of mine to be a volume-based broker, meaning more than 20 agents, I'd probably already done 900 homes, so yeah, I had a lot of experience. And then before the house flipping business, I was in the land business. So I always understood the concept of investing in real estate more so than selling real estate. I always say there's two types of real estate. There's people that are great salesperson and their product is real estate. And then there's people that understand how to improve real estate, which is the highest and best use by investing time, energy, and effort into that piece of real estate and then being rewarded via profit. Those are two different types.
It is.
And they don't, it's rare if one can do the other.
Totally.
Like
I don't ever see people really dual play that. Or
right.
Run dual. Yeah.
Yeah. And a lot of the realtors out there that are excellent salespeople and great at marketing, great at prospecting, they don't actually have a great understanding of the product they're selling in the sense of the investment side. Maybe the usability, the functionality for a family. I'll turn that off just a second.
No, you're good. I don't care.
The functionality of what the family that they're selling the home to may use it for, et cetera, et cetera. But as far as like, I'm a big...
You're good. Grab it. You're good.
I'm just going to put it on mute.
Yeah, I never thought about that. That is a really good point.
Right?
'Cause I picture a lot of motherfuckers just as a straight sales side. Not really understanding the asset itself and like how to really, like you're saying, maximize it. But I would say that's because they don't have the experience of dealing with it.
Well,
like you did.
Yeah, they didn't have to, because that wasn't what they got into it to do.
Yes.
They got into it to sell.
Yep.
To sell. And their product was real estate. A good example is I'm a major car guy. I love cars. Now, in order for me to roll in and out of the amount of cars I roll in and out of, I have to make sure that I'm buying it right. So the relationship that I have with Vegas Auto Gallery, which is who I buy a lot of my cars from, is you got to put me in the car right in the beginning so that when I come back to you in 2 years, I'm not so nuked that I can't get out of it.
That they want it back.
Or they want it back, or they could pay me a decent amount, or I'm not so flipped that I can't get out of it, and then I end up having to hold the car forever because I'm so flipped. My point in bringing that up is it's the same exact logic with houses. If you want a repeat customer, you can't just go. It's probably not in the best interest unless you know that their plan as a buyer of a residential piece of real estate. If they're going to live in it for 7 to 10 years, then sell them a new build. If they're going to live in, if this is a move up home, they're going to be there. They're starting a family. They just got engaged. They're going to have kids, and it's a move up home. Then you need to make sure you put them in that house at the right price, because in a few years when they come back to sell, they may not have any equity if you didn't. So now you just lost a customer. So that's my point about relating it to the car game, and that's the value of working with me or my agents at Galindo Group Real Estate. Is we do our best to put you in real estate right. So you're not flipped too heavily on day one.
So you have a good option down the road with whether you want to stay or you have a chance to move to something else.
Yeah. Because real estate's a great way to build wealth, but not if you overpaid by 10% on day one.
Exactly. And you're locked.
Yeah, you're locked.
It's a good point. Which that kind of ties into, here were the 3 topics that I had in mind for something like this.
Okay.
When it comes to money, as an accountant, I always love this, that when I first meet somebody, it's not unorthodox for me to go into how much money they make or what they do, because I'm like, I'm a fucking accountant.
Yeah.
What else are we going to talk about here?
Talk about it like there's eggs in the fridge.
Yeah. So it's very normal for me. So I think about income, spending, and investing, which for you, it's interesting to look at some of the ways that other people would look at your lifestyle. It's like, oh, that's spending. To you, it's like, that's kind of investing too at some parts, because you're buying certain assets. So let's hover around income really quick as to how you're making your money.
So my main source of income, I had to actually think about that. The bulk of my income, the main source, is actually from my rentals. Believe it or not, my rentals at this point generate more revenue, net, triple net revenue.
After every dollar.
I account for the umbrella policy, the Buildium software I use to manage it, the cost of the tax return. Like, so many guys are like, oh, I make this much a year off of my rentals. I'm like, you don't have a clue what you're making.
Yeah,
you're not netting any of it out.
You don't.
Anyway, so
exactly, you don't.
My rental income is actually the largest source of my income. Then my flipping business, and then my brokerage business. And then I have a few other sources of income that are trickled in there. Yeah.
Because you're this far into the career now. What was your relationship with money when you were younger around businesses?
So from an early age, I think a lot, it's kind of a deep answer. There's a lot of the people that end up doing well, there's some level of trauma in their life or some point in their early life that made them feel out of control. Dad leaving, abusive dad, strict mom, whatever dynamic you want to play out. There's a variation of trauma, and trauma generally makes a young person feel out of control. And when the person feels out of control, they will find some kind of external force that makes them feel in control. I just happened to choose money. So when I was young, I was like, I want to be able to buy a Gatorade if I wanted a Gatorade. I wanted to be able to buy hot lunch at school if I wanted a hot lunch. My mom was very strict. Like, I got $400 every time the season would turn to go buy clothes and everything. So summer I got $400, and winter I got $400. And then I got like $10 a week in allowance.
School snacks, Gatorade.
That was everything. Yeah.
Yep.
So anyway, so I wasn't spoiled by any stretch, but so at an early age, I was like the guy at SafeKey drawing books. I would draw stories with, a pencil and draw it out. And I'd draw 5 to 7 pages, staple them together. And I understood the power of pressure, I guess, at that point, AKA sales. I wouldn't say sales, but pressure. When the parent would come to pick the kid up, I'd follow the kid to the parent and say, hey, will you buy my book for your son for $5? Now that's a whole different dynamic than trying to sell the kid the book.
That is.
And I would sell books, my little
to
books
the parents.
to the parents. Yeah. And so, $2, $3.
What a smart move to go to the decision maker. Like shit that they teach you in sales now. It's like, I'm not going to ask the kid.
No, the kid didn't even want the book probably. Or maybe the whole time I was trying to convince the kid that it's the greatest book ever. Anyway, but then it moved into, like, I had a shoe shining business in my neighborhood. So my mom would take me to her office when she would work late. And I don't remember what I did. I took pictures, probably cut them out, put them on the scanner of shoes, and put some text on there and a phone number or whatever I did, and printed out like 100 copies of it. And then I rollerbladed my whole neighborhood and put it on everybody's doors and said, leave your shoes out at this time and I'll return them at this time. And so I had a shoe shining business.
How smart. That's smart.
That
was true service.
I always had all of my entrepreneurial tactics were rooted in service, because there's service and goods. I never sold anything.
Yep.
It was always service. I was always willing to work hard using my body, and provide service. I'd rake leaves. I'd wash cars. Man, so younger age. Okay. Long-winded answer. Here's when I knew how to genuinely save and respect money. I read an article. I don't remember where it was, Yahoo, CNBC, but I was young, 18, 17, maybe 16 to 20. If you build a relationship with your money, it becomes a lot harder to spend it. Now think about what that actually means. If all of a sudden you didn't want to be friends with me, that would probably create some level of discomfort in my body because I enjoy having you a part of my life, right? That's a relationship.
Yeah.
So what happens is people will get money, and if it's, a decent size, call it $5,000, $3,000, $10,000, whatever it is, they won't let it season in the bank account long enough to build a relationship with it. And what's actually happening is when that fresh batch of money comes into the bank, they're actually uncomfortable with it. It's almost like you walking me up to a stranger and saying, hug this person.
Yeah.
This is your new friend. I would be uncomfortable with that and almost want to not hug that person. I'd almost want to get away from that person. I'd want to go slower with it. Same thing happens with money, is when you receive money, if you don't let it sit in the account, I always tell people when they get a certain amount of money, whatever, a large amount of money to their world, I say, let it sit there for 6 months.
That's a good
Because
amount of
then
time.
it's going to be really fucking hard to spend it. All of a sudden you're going to be like, this is a part of me. This is a relationship I want to preserve. But instead, what's happening is that money comes into their life, they feel uncomfortable, and they want to get back to being comfortable. So they push away what made them uncomfortable, subconsciously, of course.
I was going to say, subconsciously is such a weird thing, because
It's
if you
all
were to ask them
subconscious.
plain face, they would say no all the time.
Yeah, they'd be like, oh, no, I would. Well, then why'd you
Why'd you spend it on bullshit?
Why'd you spend it so fast? They wouldn't even be able to answer. But subconsciously, it's because it puts them back to a place of where they were comfortable, which was without the money. But as soon as you let that money season and you build a genuine relationship with it, like my relationship with my money now is tight. Like, dude, you try to take it from me, it's like taking a piece of me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
True, which it should be at that point.
Yeah. Now, I can even play the same game, because even though I'm conscious of the theory, if someone gave me $100 million, initially I'd go buy all kinds of crazy shit, bro. I'd have a $5 million car. I'd have a $12 million house. I know I would. Now, if you gave me the $100 million and said you can't spend any of it for a year, now I'm comfortable with the 100.
You wouldn't be so spendy like you would if you had to make which is funny. It's one of these questions I have. What would you do quickly with a large sum of cash?
But so I want to summarize that. You said, what was my relationship in my early days as a child with money? And initially it was always about making it. I loved making money. I think I watched my mom work really, really hard. She was a single mom raising me and my sister. She worked her ass off. She was ambitious. She took care of us and was able to be ambitious and fulfill her goals. And I understood and saw the power of money, because she was around a lot of wealthy people, and they all had influence, and they all had strength, and they all had dominance. And money allows for that. And so to me, I was like, that is a way to get what I want in life. It has nothing to do with the money. It arguably has nothing to do with the materialistic things. These are all tools that give you access to different spheres of our reality. This Ferrari I just bought, by owning a Ferrari, it literally enters me into another sphere of my reality that I would not have been able to experience had I not had that car.
Yep.
So it's different people, it's different parts of the world, different part, and when I say world, like Vegas, but these things are tools to get into different spheres.
Different networks and circles, for sure.
Yeah. So
at what age do you feel, so personally, before I ask the question, just so you get a context, I'm 32 now, 33 tomorrow.
Yeah, congrats.
Maybe at 30, 31, I finally felt settled into the way that I earn money. Meaning, like, this is the business that I'm in, right? I'm an accountant. This is like, I love now when people ask me, I'm an accountant, it's how I make my money. I have a firm. And whether I have a firm or I'm I'm an employee somewhere, I'm an accountant. That's how I earn my money. At what age do you feel that you felt settled into the way you were going to earn money? And I find that so interesting, because as a young kid, I didn't really have sales experience or do sales. You've always known that sales was priority. Sales was priority to earn $1 in any profession that you're in. So at what age did you feel that it was sales or whatever business you were in that you're like, hey, this is how I earn my money. This is where my profession is at for at least the next long term of my life, long-term portion of my life.
What a great question. I of all the questions, that was the one that I liked the most. They're all great questions, but that one, I was like, that's a good question to ask. I perfected and understood I wouldn't say perfected, whatever. I perfected and understood the house flipping business really well at probably 26. And to add context to that, so at 26 years old is when I knew how to make money. And I think the second that you learn how to make money, or that you have confidence in your ability to make money, is the second that you have a true business. These people that make 500 grand one year, lose 100 grand the next year, have a $50,000 a month, have a $5,000 a month, lose 20 grand the next month. That's not a business. That's just hard work and a little bit of luck. And that's why it's fluctuating so aggressively. When you can understand that if you do X, Y, and Z, you'll create a result, that's when you know you have a business. And similar to you know that when you wake up, you come to the office, if you touch 5 of your clients to make sure they're happy, touch 5 new clients to see if they're happy, do a little social media to make sure that your word's getting out there, and you rinse and repeat, and you generate a result, that's where that confidence comes from.
Yeah.
So for me, I knew that if I just worked hard enough to write enough offers, to negotiate enough deals, renovate enough homes, sell them properly, do everything I said I was going to do, that I would generate this result. And then once I did that over and over again, I was like, I'm safe. So what you're really asking is, when did the insecurity leave?
Yeah, true.
Because I do remember the insecurity. I don't know how I'm going to make my next dollar. You know what I'm saying? Like, that shit's real. And it was probably about 26. So I was a mess, but just never gave up. Kept trying to figure it out from 18 to 26.
Which now is the rule. Like, you're going to have to sit here and try things and throw shit at a wall to get something to work. And it's funny that you found a lot of, I guess we'll say, just value in that question, because as a dad, you're a dad, father, that's something that I now wish that my kids are going to recognize soon. Because if you think about it, or me as a dad, I'm like, dang, I'm not concerned, but I sometimes fret about, like, dang, what are my kids going to do to earn a living one day? One of my biggest fears as a kid was being homeless, because I'm like, oh, fuck. Wow. And we kind of had like not similar upbringings from that standpoint, but like no dad around, single mom around. And so it was just, my mom didn't have a lot of money, and I don't think it was a money issue. It was just, I guess it was, how was someone going to earn the money? Because, right. And so now, now that I'm an adult, I'm like, okay, I've kind of settled into this, and there's so many different fucking ways to earn money now that I'm like, it's just something that I think about with my kids. And I'm like, I hope that they find that same, oh dang, like that settled in feeling of how they're going to earn money at a young age, which I feel like I'm fairly young. At 32, I found it. 30, we'll say. So 26 is young, but look how many reps it took to get to that. Look how much shit you had to go to, I feel like, to get to that feeling at 26.
An insane amount. I mean, there was some deep, dark moments in that journey that I didn't know if I was going to make it out. Like, like, this isn't even worth living. Like, I'm so broke. And this isn't fun anymore. And, I just wake up every day and throw mud at the wall and see if it stuck, and got creative. And at times, what you have to end up doing too is you have to shrink your imagination, because your imagination will create this scenario that's all based on fantasy, and then you'll feel it in real time, even though it hasn't even happened. So a lot of people will spook themselves based on this imaginatory scenario that hasn't even happened, but they're feeling it as if it did. The physical feeling. Like right now, you and I have every single thing we could possibly need in this exact moment. We're fed, we're sheltered, we're clothes. Comfortable, we have our health. So my point is on that entrepreneurial journey, you have to think far out, but when things get scary, you shrink that imagination component of your brain down to, do I have what I need today? Okay. And if that's still scaring you, or you may not know if you do, then you got to shrink it down to the hour. Then you're like, okay, for the next 60 minutes, I have everything that I need. And when you do that, then it strips the fear, because the fear is rooted in that imaginatory scenario.
Unknown,
it's not even real, but you're hypothesizing that it's going to be real, and then you're experiencing it in real time, which then halts growth. And so, like, when we were really broke, there was a time, for it as an example, Crystal put $140 in the Tahoe. We had like no money. This was the level this is how granular I got. I was like, honey, until we have more money, you put enough gas in that car to get you from point A to point B. I don't care if you have to stop at 5 gas stations in a week. Just enough, because we can't suck that gas out and convert it back to money, which could be our next meal, could be our kids' next meal, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So that's how shrunk down.
I was going to say shrunk down.
Yeah, to the moment that I would live to maintain sanity through this treacherous moment. You'll break if you let that imagination go. People go, this is fucking ain't worth it. I'm going to be broke forever.
You're right, because within that imagination has to be so many things that you really don't need, but your brain somewhat is bouncing off that you do right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so to wrap income.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, I'm all over.
Well, you're settled into where you're earning money now. What do you see as an exit, or how long do you see? Like, do you see yourself pivoting anytime soon to a new industry? And I say this because I have a close friend who's a banker, flea hands.
Yep.
And it's always the shiny object syndrome of like, hey, you're getting really good at something that you're doing now, and I'm going to go do this. And that's where we always laugh and banter that like he sees people waste the most money doing that. Like, hey, they should have kept their head down, doing what they were good at to really get way better at it and scale it even further. So the joke with me is, dude, just shut up and do tax returns, because right now there's no need for me to go out and do something else. So it's like, hey, I just keep telling like, shut up and just do more tax returns and do more tax planning. So for you, do you see yourself making a big pivot anytime soon, or what does the exit look like for you in the industry that you're in making money?
The exit for me is cash flow.
Got it.
Because what is the exit? The exit is being able to replace that time, energy, and effort that you invest into every single day to generate an income. Mm-hmm. And then once you have back your time, energy, and effort, then you get to go and apply it anywhere you'd like. But you can only do that. Not that I'm unhappy. I love flipping homes. But there's days where maybe I want to go sit by a pool.
Yeah.
But I can't do that because I have to apply that time, energy, and effort into my daily tasks so that I can generate an income and sustain my lifestyle. But so for me, my exit strategy is to continue to perfect flipping houses. You got to think about this for a second. There was a moment in time, in recent time, with the pandemic and the absurd amount of money that the government pumped into the economy, which created just crazy thinking. And it's a funny saying that comes back to me from an old mentor. Everything is funny when there's lots of money. Let that one sink in. Okay, everything is funny when there's lots of money. So when I started hearing people go, I'm buying NFTs. I'm like, wait a second, you're buying a PDF for fucking
JPEG.
A JPEG, thank you. See, that shows how much I know about it.
No, same shit. I'm saying the same thing.
You're buying a JPEG for thousands. These are like people I knew that were literally paying thousands, and then you hear about the people paying millions.
Yeah.
I'm like, talk about it's all funny when there's lots of money, because there's no value to this thing other than people just bidding it up and perceptual value. Mm-hmm. Anyway, okay, so just think about this for a second. I've been flipping houses since 2008. I have worked on an 8 to 10% margin. If I buy the house, that means I'm going to make $8,000 to $10,000 if it's a $100,000 house. If it's a $400,000 house, my hope is to make anywhere between $30,000 and $40,000. You get the point. So I have my head down, shut up and flip houses. And I look to my right, and this guy is all of a sudden a millionaire because he bought crypto. I'm like, shut up and flip houses. And then I look to my left, this guy's a millionaire because he's doing drop shipping. Shut up and flip houses. Yeah. I look to my other side. All of a sudden, this guy is buying land in the fucking metaverse. The dumbest fucking thing I've ever thought in my life. I can't even believe that was a concept. That's worse than the NFTs. It's an unlimited amount of land. Yeah. There's no value to anything that's unlimited. Anyway, Meta. What else was out there?
You're right. You just named some bangers that now, thinking about it, are near gone.
Gone? Yeah.
The land flipping was a big one that just made no sense. And then the drop shipping too, which I feel like that is almost completely phased out.
Yeah. So
you're right.
My
you
point
went through
was,
three
all
big
this
waves.
Candy to the right and left of me, and I said, Josh, shut up and keep flipping houses. Okay, now what am I getting at here? First of all, the key to replacing your income is not by starting by buying rentals. And here's why I say that. If you have $60,000 in the bank and you go and buy a rental in Las Vegas, it's called a condo, you put down 20%, it's $40,000, you put 20 into it, you're out of money. At best, you cash flow $200 a month. Mm-hmm. At best. So you just exchanged $60,000 lifeline for $200 a month. Stupid idea. What you have to get good at first is perfecting your earned income. And that's what you just acknowledged that you've been able to do with TrueBooks. You have now perfected your ability to generate earned income. Mm. When your earned income exceeds the bank account, it blows up your bank account. You have too much of it sitting in the bank.
Yeah.
Then you go and purge that into passive income assets. Now there's millions of them. I just use rentals. So then you move that money over and you buy rentals. Now that rental helps supplement your income. But where people get stuck is they think they get in the business or they're too early in the business. They're going, I'm going to start buying rentals. It's like, are you an expert at your earned income craft yet? Mm-hmm. If they say no, then I'm like, do not deploy that capital into a rental. Use that to improve yourself and your ability to master your earned income component. And once you have mastered your earned income will be hopefully in excess of your bills. You'll be able to save. As you're saving, your bankroll will grow. As your bankroll grows, you take and you purge that money into a cash flowing passive income asset. And then that's what I've done. Mm-hmm. So to break that down, by house flipping, that's my earned income. I always just flipped houses. Yeah. And I made more money than I spent. And then I would buy a rental with that excess earned income.
As you accumulated excess funds.
Yes. And then I would buy a rental. And then I'd get back to flipping houses. And then when I had more money, I'd buy another rental. Get back to flipping houses. Buy another rental. And eventually what ends up happening is your rentals will exceed your monthly expenses or match them. And then the machine is on steroids. Now I don't need to hold any money. I don't have to hold any money because my monthly income pays my bills. Mm-hmm. So now every time I flip a house, 100% of that money could go towards saving for the next rental instead of me going, well, I need to keep half of it for my mortgage and then the other half will go into savings. It's like, dude, 100% of my earned income now goes to buying more rentals, and it's just stacking and stacking. And then in time, your rental income will exceed your bills by such an amount that the machine will feed itself.
Exactly.
If you're exceeding it by 30 grand a month, let's say, and every 3 months you can go and finance a home in Vegas, mm-hmm. or you could go and buy a house cash in the Midwest, and you could play that game. And then the machine just builds itself.
Which ideally you could take yourself as being somebody that at your age is already ready to slow down the income producing phase of their life because they've done so well with their investments. But why would you do that when I feel like you're still in a accumulation phase while you're accumulating and letting your wheel keep churning so that it grows at a faster rate? Because you could really slow down and probably ride it out till you're 55, 60 and still be great, or you can just keep on the gas for the next 5, 10, 15 years.
Yes.
And then you'd be 3, 4, 5x further.
100%. That's my goal. Is I've got another 10 years of pushing hard. My body's good. My brain's good. And if I continue at that, then I can choose what I want to do from 50 on. So yeah, no, you're spot on.
It's a weird conventional question. How old is your mother?
64, I believe.
And she's dating. This is a funny story. I didn't have a chance to tell you your birthday. She's dating, is it Gary?
Yeah, Gary.
Dude, Gary. So long story short, when I was leaving school, he ran JJW.
Okay, yeah, okay.
That was one of the...
I didn't know that was the name of his firm, but okay.
Oh, dude, that was like the firm in town when I was leaving school.
Yeah, I'm learning that about Gary.
Dude,
He's such a modest cat, but...
Bro, he interviewed me for 3 hours, and I didn't get the job. I lost it to this girl, if she's watching, Kelly Pigeon.
Go Kelly.
I know.
And Gary.
She got it. Yeah, Gary was, dude, he was the man. Yeah, he ran that firm, JJW, and it was, if you didn't want to go to the big four, Deloitte, PwC, and that was the firm to go to.
Really?
Their clients, dude, they believed in higher level clients, higher fees, so less staff. You didn't need to just run through thousands of clients.
Yeah.
You got new equipment when you signed on there, so you didn't have to get like 10-year-old laptops and shit like that. And I think they were just really respected because they were really good at their line of work. Yeah. They didn't, they were very specialized. So it was funny when I saw him at your party. I was like,
"Did you say hi?
No?"
Or you just recognized him?
No. Well, it took a minute, and I'm like, "Oh my god, is that Gary Johnson?" Then I pulled him up online, and then I've now seen him online with your mom. So I was like, "Oh my god, this is such a full circle moment."
Yeah, I'm learning that he's a bigger boy than
he's retired now. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he's chilling now.
He's doing just
because he went to Terrible's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He worked for Herbst.
He went over to Herbst as I think they're like CFO when the firm closed. Yeah. That was such a wild. When I saw him, I was like, no way.
Thanks for sharing that.
Okay. So that's income. Let's move to spending.
Okay.
Which really there's not much here on spending. I have two main questions. Do you personally budget? And I say this because as a CPA, I talk finance a lot. It's so fucking shocking to me how many people do not track any of their money. And so when when I'm asked a very general tax question, that's easy. But when I'm asked a very general finance question, my first thing back is like, do you even track where your money goes? Do you track how much money you make versus how much you spend? And the answer is 9 out of 10 times no. So I feel like somebody at your income level, what does that look like now for you as far as budgeting and personal spending and compared to maybe what it looked like 10, 15 years ago?
Oh, man.
Is it more lax? Is it less lax as you made more money? What does it look like?
It's way less lax. 10 or 15 years ago, I knew how much money I had in my checking account to the 50th, to the 50, to the 100th, to the dollar, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
And within $50, I knew how much was in my checking account. And if I spent, I was conscious of it. I checked my Amex. I allocated entertainment, necessities. I was super frugal. And that was like the saving phase of my life where I was really obsessed with saving, which is an incredible skill. But the big lesson that I took away from that part of my life was that I couldn't save myself to wealth. You know what I'm saying? I could not save.
I think that's a true statement for sure.
So you have to just make more money.
It is.
Is the reality. Like one time I showed my mom my bills. I think I was living on $2,500 a month. She goes, Josh, you can't live any cheaper. She goes, you have to figure out how to make more money. You cannot live any cheaper.
Shout out to mom. She's true.
Yeah. So that was when I learned that. But so yes, I was extremely frugal, frighteningly frugal. Like the guy that would sit there and watch my friend order the soda and not order anything, and he'd have food left over, and I'd wait till the very end and be like, are you going to throw that away? Yeah, I'll eat the rest. He'd throw his Coke in the garbage. I'd pull it out of the garbage and go get a refill and drink it that way. I didn't believe in stopping and get Gatorades. If I worked at the Mirage Pool, and every day I'd crave like a Gatorade after work. I was like, no, Josh, just go home and drink water. It's free. Just go home and drink water. I didn't buy bottled water. I didn't, nothing. So no, I was extremely frugal. And then today, how do I budget? I have a photographic memory. That's probably the biggest thing that has served me in my flipping business. I think it's really great for my flipping business.
Which now I'm interested to see. Yeah, how does that really translate to money? Because you're right, in the flipping business, that'd be huge.
So I'll be like, okay, so for example, like Sienna Circle was our first house that we closed this year. Made $71,000 on it. Yeah. $71,000. I had to leave back 48%. I took 52% to pay employees and overhead. I think it was somewhere between like $42,000 and $50,000 was my share. I don't know, somewhere in that number. But I could like just see it on my spreadsheet because we broke it up over different things. It doesn't matter. It was about $40,000. And then I know how much I made every month from rental income. And then I know how much I made from my miscellaneous incomes. I know how much I made from the brokerage. And then I compare it against, what I spend. Mm-hmm. But the reality too is, so that is how I budget today, was the short answer, is that I'm conscious of the money I'm bringing in. Yeah. And then I'm conscious of the money that I'm spending. I am a relatively frugal person. I don't care about, at this point, I don't want to mislead your audience, but I don't really care what I spend money on anymore. And I hate to even say that because I don't want anybody to follow that lead. I want you to be very frugal in the beginning. When you have more than enough money that you're not going to get hurt, then you can implement this way of thinking. But at the moment, like if I go to dinner and the bill's $800, it stings a little bit like, damn, $800, babe. But we drive home and I don't think about it again. And where I really learned this, where my life changed, is I used to be a blackjack player with the $100 bill. I'd roll up to Red Rock, look for the $5 table, put $100 down. If I played for 3 hours, it was the night of my life and lost. That was fine. Night of my life.
But you got time out of it.
But I got time out of it. If I lost $100 in 5 minutes, I was pissed. I was like furious. And then I've been going out to different dining experiences at casinos, and now my threshold's $500. And I was like, man, I remember when I was really bent over the 100, and now I'm not so bent over the 5. And so I think what ends up happening is you make more money, and then your senses become desensitized to the
100%.
amount that you spend. But it does not mean that I don't budget. And I'm not frugal. Like my wife's not on a salary, or she doesn't get like a set amount of money to spend. We just both have faith in our ability to preserve the family dynamic and wealth that we've generated by being conscious of what we spend. And so I'm a big value guy. For example, we were at Coronado Island for spring break 4 days ago. The fucking steak is $64 and it comes out and it's this big. I didn't care about the $64 on the menu. I was offended when I saw the size of the steak.
Yes,
Dude,
exactly.
charge me $120 if you have to.
But give
I
me
get
a
it.
real-
I know where
yeah,
I'm
give me a
sitting.
real
I'm on
item.
the beach. I got fires all around me to keep me warm. My kids are able to play in the grass. There's a premium to this setting. Charge me whatever you need to. Just don't screw me on the value.
As a consumer, exactly.
Yeah, so that is really what dictates my spending is I'm happy to spend the money if the value matches the money I'm spending. Where I start to get pissed and frustrated is if I'm spending a lot and the value's not there.
So even then, the value you feel like, because I'm sure when you were frugal, the value had to make sense. Even now, that trait has stayed the same, which I would agree. Yes, is true.
Yeah, but like, do I budget my $11 burrito this morning at the juice bar at LVAC? No. I walked in, my locker, my VIP locker was past due by $258. You know, I walked up, I took a picture of it, sent to my assistant. I said, "Can you pay this?"
That's got to be, though, because now all these small miscellaneous items, like I was going to say, let's say an example is you go out to eat somewhere and there's valet. Let's say you pay for valet. Or you are walking through a casino out here, right, being in Vegas, and you realize you don't have something on you, eye drops, chapstick. You would walk into a convenience store, maybe buy it, versus early days, no, I'm just going to wait till I get back home. I'll thug this out right now.
I'd fucking walk a mile before
Exactly.
I spent $20.
Yes.
I would let my eyes be beet red before I bought eye drops.
Yes.
Chapped lips,
Exactly.
lick them, bro.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Keep them rolling. So that's just an example now about like how, hey, within a couple $100, $1,000, $2,000, that is just now something that you can afford given the amount of income that you make.
And that's what it's up. That's the reality.
Which I think that's the
reality.
exactly.
You
That's
have
the
to
reality of
say
how things
it's
should progress.
based on your income.
Yes.
You know, where I'm still shocked by people that I'm either friends with or distant friends, how recklessly these people spend.
Insanity.
And they don't have those resources.
Insanity.
Yeah.
And I'll ask you this because I hope that it riles you. It riles me up when people ask me this stupid ass question. At least I think it's stupid. Do you and Crystal split money?
No.
What
I
are
don't
your
believe in it.
Why? Tell me. Help me understand why people do.
I don't know. I think it's all rooted in fear. You know,
It's got to be. Because to me, the first thing that which again, for any of my friends
I'd love to
watching
hear.
this, it gets me fired up because it immediately tells me, do you not trust your spouse?
100%.
Do you not trust your fucking spouse who you live with because that'd be the only reason why you wouldn't.
Unless you have a prenup in place or something, and
If there's a major gap in wealth or something like that, yes, I would understand that.
If you guys were brokies when you met,
yes,
and then you kept your money separate, to me, I think it creates extreme financial insecurity for the person that doesn't have a great income,
who's not earning,
who's not, or not earning,
less,
or not earning,
yes,
even better point. And I think it's all control. And the control doesn't have to be rooted in evil. It could be control rooted in fear that if I split with this person, that it's going to
you lose.
Yeah, that they're going to recklessly spend it. Or no, Crystal and I have shared money. Actually, one of I think our best practices is that she pays all the bills. She pays 100% of the bills. So I'm a big believer in telling couples, if they ask for the advice, pick one person to be the earner and one person to be the bill payer. Because when you split the roles, literally in my brain, Matt, and I'm not even just saying this is totally fact, I only have money. I'm only making money. I only see, for the last 8 years of my life, my whole life has only been money coming in, unless it's money going out for an investment or something.
Yeah.
Or a cool car or something expensive that but it's never the mortgage. It's never the car payments. It's not the car insurance. It's not the landscaper. It's not the pool guy. It's not the power bill. It's not the electrical bill. All of that is like chipping away and creating a little bit of like, oh shit, the power bill is $700 this month. That's negative. It's like, I'm better off just going out there and going, I'm just going to stay in the space of making money, make money. That's the only thing that I do. And my wife, thankfully, has a strong mind and can sit there and process those bills and pay them out and not have panic because she has so much faith in my ability to make. Now, I don't ever get deterred by what we're spending because I never see it. So I'm only focused in a space of abundance. It's only abundance.
That's a good check and balance too. And like even me and my wife, we're two finance people. We commingle all of our funds. Everything I have is hers. Everything she has mine, like all that bullshit. But that's a good point, because that check and balance is then one person can focus on the one side of things, like you said, the earning, and then the other side, obviously the spending. But also you can let each other know if there's something that the other person needs to know, like in regards to if you have unexpected bills, right? I'm sure she can bring that up to you and say,
Absolutely.
hey, we need to start planning for this XYZ.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's good. That one always gets me so riled up, because I'm like, whatever sentence they're about to say as to why, I'm like, I don't give a fuck. It doesn't trump the thought that I have in my head of like, is there something weird that you don't trust one another? Because why else? Because if you ask me, that's so disorganized.
It's double the work.
That's a lot of shit to manage, when I'm like, in reality, you'd be much better logistically, efficiently, effectively, every good production word there is, commingling this to figure out how to grow it as a unit versus, hey, I have mine, I have yours, and you're like growing them as separate territories. It doesn't make sense to me.
It's a beautiful journey to grow it together. It's
True.
a beautiful journey to grow it together.
Yeah.
And I think it creates complexes too. Like, well, I make all the money. It's like, and then she's like, well, I don't get to spend any of it. So now she's a little bit resentful, or he's a little bit resentful, because there's a lot of women that make more than their men too. Mm-hmm. And then the woman restricts their income. I mean, yeah, to me, it's a full blown, it's not the way I want to live my life.
It's same. There's a funny joke in the tax world. I was just telling someone this. It's very formal on a tax return who the taxpayer and who the spouse is. And so it's just most common that we see the male, the husband, listed as the taxpayer and the wife as a spouse. So anytime we see a tax return that comes through with a woman listed first, we're like, oh, shit. Like, that's a funny joke. Okay. So, next is investing, which is huge for you, because other than, right, you're the first person I've ever interviewed here too that has reached the point to where their passive investments are really now superseding what their income is, or is even that close within that realm. Because I feel like most people are going to go 10, 20, 30 years in the earning phase and not really worrying about accumulating. But you, again, another thing that I majorly respect about you is that you focused on that so fucking early. Yeah. And that was one of the first things I asked you was when we met is you truly kept your head down and did what you needed to do to grow to where you are now, so that now you could fuck off like these other kids online who have been in it for 3 years, made $500,000 and think that they have the world at their fingertips.
Yeah.
So when it comes to investing, we kind of already know though, but give a general sense of where your head's at with investing now and what asset classes, which we know is real estate, but do you focus anywhere else, or is it mainly just the real estate?
I don't own one stock.
Really? No money in the market?
No money in the market.
No money. I like that. Kyle and I, we argue all the time between real estate and market stuff. He's a financial advisor, so I like that you.
Well, you got a good resource there to maybe, I don't understand it well enough. I mean, I get it. It could be long-term money, but to me, I only care about cash flow. I don't even care what my net worth is. My net worth could be zero, as long as I have incredible cash flow. Yeah. And some people get hung up on net worth, and with stocks, unless it pays a dividend, there's no cash flow. Mm-hmm. And so, it may go up, it may appreciate it, you may be able to score out big, but to me, I only care about, and then you got to pay taxes on it. So versus real estate, it helps offset taxes. And it does. So for me, it's all about residential real estate. I like residential. I don't care for commercial, not yet at least. And
other than your own, maybe.
Yeah, I own my building, but that's because I work out of it.
I was gonna say, was that more of just an opportunity that you were faced with versus you seeking it out?
Absolutely, 100%. That was an opportunity I was faced with. Yep, and then I took advantage of it, and it's been the greatest thing ever. A big lesson on that, and for perspective here, or some advice to you maybe is if you decide to buy way more than you need. My building's 18,000 square feet. When I first bought it, I occupied 2,500 square feet. Now I occupy 12,000 square feet. It's like
that law of you just grow into what you have kind of thing, like the space.
Yeah, and then you just have tenants paying on the space that you don't need at that moment. And when their lease is up, you analyze their space. Should we expand? Where are we at? But so buy more than you need is a good lesson that I learned from that. But I like commercial, but my concern with commercial is you got to have really big money or investors, which I don't really like investors, to weather the storms. So for perspective, the payment on my building is like $14,000 a month, just principal and interest. And then if you take in taxes and everything else, about $16,000 a month. If things get really ugly in the economy, I have such a unique building, but we use the strip mall as an example. Okay, let's just apply that same payment scenario to a strip mall. All of a sudden, the nail salon, no one's going in to get their nails done. They're doing them at home. Mm-hmm. Okay, so nail salon goes out of business. The insurance company People are consolidating their insurance or whatever it is. The insurance guy goes out of business. The smoke shop, maybe that guy's doing great because times are tough. But you get my point. Like, it's a lot more. And when you have a space for lease, it ain't like a house. Like, I could turn a house over, one of my rentals over, where the tenant moves out on the 30th and I have a new tenant in place on the 3rd. Like, that's not commercial. Yeah. So to me, I wouldn't want $300,000 a month in debt service, even if I was crushing it on the cash flow, just because it would scare me so much if the economy turned. Like, it's like an instant goodbye. Like a house, you could, even if the payment's $1,500 a month, if you had to lower the rent to $1,200 to get a tenant, so you go backwards $300 a month for the next 2 years until rents go back up. But commercial, you got to be a big boy. That's all I'm saying. I'm not even knocking it. I think it's an incredible way to wealth, probably much faster than what I'm doing. But you've got to be a big, big boy to be able to withstand any economic downturns.
Was there a point in your investing journey where, when you started to focus on it to where you are now, there was just a hyper phase of growth because it either clicked, you either had the income or it either clicked to you that you needed to have a faster path to investing? Or was it just based on opportunity, head down, and then you had the opportunity to fuel the investing?
So I had this mentor named Ronaldo Taberti. He was such an integral part of my journey and my life in so many ways. He's passed now, and I loved him and love him today. We're driving through Mountain's Edge. Crystal's house was 1,600 square feet, and she's like, I just moved into that because I'd finally sold my house to short sale. So we moved in there, and I'm like, Ronaldo, come see my new house. And we're driving up Richmar, and I'm in the car with him. This is the photographic memory. This is how I memorize things. I can remember looking at him and seeing the top of the roof, the car, and his head. I go, Ronaldo, how do I get rich? Like rich like you, like rich. Really fucking rich. He goes, it's like baseball. You go up to bat and you just hope that you hit the ball well enough to get to first base. Just not strike out. Just get to first base. And every single play is just get to first base. And then once you're on first base, just make it so you can get to second base. Hope the next batter, just so you can make it to third, just so you can get home. All you care about is just staying on the team. And one day you're going to go up to bat, and that ball is going to come down that plate perfect, and you're going to recognize it, and you're going to hit it, and you're going to have a home run, and the bases are going to be loaded, and then you're going to get a contract of your life. And then from there on out, you can pick and choose what you want to do and grow the wealth. Now, let me explain that in reality, because this is what I believe happened to me. I said, fuck you, shut up, flip houses.
Head down. So I'm flipping houses, buying rentals. I was paying cash for them because I'd ruined my credit through the short sales. So I was forced to pay cash. So I'm paying cash for them. I have 30 rentals right before the pandemic hits, all cash. I looked at Crystal. It was only generating $38,000 a month or whatever it was because rents were depressed. Not depressed. Rents were pre-COVID rents. I looked at Crystal. I go, we're done. I didn't have very big bills at the time. I'm like, we made it. I'm retired. Pandemic hits. I had to work through that. I won't go into that story. That was scary as hell. But as soon as we came out of the pandemic, what happened to rents? They went up. So as soon as my leases started to turn over, I went from making like $38,000 a month to like $65,000 a month in like a 1 year period. On the same assets that you already had. So it wasn't even you accumulated more. It was just a dynamic, like a scenario change.
Yes. And the value of those assets also doubled.
Yep.
And then I could go and borrow very responsibly against them because, when it was worth 200, if I borrowed 100, I'm 50% leveraged. If it's now worth 400 and I borrow 180, 200, I'm less than 50% leveraged. Yep. And then I could go and buy more. And so my point about the baseball story is I kept my head down. I flipped houses. I saved money. I flipped houses. I saved money. I stayed on the team. And COVID sent that ball right down my plate, and I fucking hit it out of the park. And it changed my life. COVID was the best thing that's ever happened to me.
I love that story too, because that story just as this example is a true testament of just keep your fucking head down.
Yeah.
Just keep your head down and focus on what you're good at. Yeah.
Gary's going to call you and go, Matt, I've heard so many great things about you. I have too much money sitting on the sideline. I want to invest in TrueBooks.
Yeah.
And you're going to go, This is crazy.
Stars aligned.
Like I get chills because I could go through so many scenarios in my life where I just keep my head down and maybe put a hope and a prayer out there with belief and conviction and emotion backing it. And the universe just goes, on my trajectory of my journey, the universe just goes, here, Josh.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Puts it right in front of you so you walk into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Greatest
love it.
story, right? The baseball story.
That
and
is,
then COVID.
that is. Which is,
So,
it is.
when
Base
COVID
hits.
happened,
Base hits.
It's base hits. Life is about base hits.
Base hits.
These guys are swinging every time.
And what I really like is stay on the fucking team.
Yeah.
Because that even tells me too, like even in a dark day of like, let's be honest, like you could be benched, but you're on the team because maybe you're having a bad day. And I'd say like, but it is just stay on the team. Base hits and stay on the team.
And convert that to business. Just stay in business.
Yes, exactly.
Because it's about time.
Yes.
Just stay in business. Like last year, I had the worst flipping year of my whole career. My share of the profit.
Dollars and quantity wise, just overall. Lowest amount of revenue and lowest amount of units you've ever done?
I mean, the units part is probably debatable because obviously I started where I only did like 5.
Yeah, true.
But I did 39 last year. And I'll even say it. I think I made $370,000 was my take on the 39 because I have overhead and everything else. That was the worst flipping year I've ever had in my entire life. But I stayed on the team. And then what do you think is going to happen this year? I mean, we can all just speculate, like Trump economy, it's bumping. Rates are headed down.
Rates should go down.
Or at least the same, but not up
Tax
and then down,
should get
up
cut.
and then down. Yeah. So I stayed on the team for when that opportunity came. And here we are. Like I had to shell out uncomfortable amounts of money to keep my team together because I was like, if Trump wins, we're going. We're going. And I had at one point at one point this year, I've had 25 homes that I was flipping at one point. I've sold a few. That's why I say that. 25 at one time. That's a pretty big run, to be able to acquire that much property in 3 months, intelligently. And so my plan this year will probably be to 65, 70 homes.
God, that's a lot. 5 a month.
Yeah.
Which I almost forgot to ask too, as somebody who, from a brokerage standpoint, personal, what's your image, your brand. So we talked about income, spending, and investing. You have to be someone that definitely looks at branding as more of an investment than a spend.
Absolutely.
Because a spend to me is more so the money's gone. It could have either been in like a dinner that you want to go to, but I know that there's something that always backs the dollar being spent, which is, hey, I think I'm going to get ROI for getting into this circle or being at this dinner table or meeting this person. But what is your mindset when it comes to branding and spend?
Well, very simple.
How do you come to how much should I spend on branding this year?
So I'm going to give you an example. I just turned 40 to give your viewers some context. I just turned 40. That birthday party was between 45 and 50 grand. I still don't know how much it was.
A good time.
Because my wife handles that. But I was quoted 40. My guess is it went over.
Yeah.
So
Safe.
Yeah. So that was a $45,000. We'll call it that. A $45,000 birthday party. 98% of that was for branding. 2% of that was for my birthday. So, like that was, dude, I was 40 for 2.5 months. Like I didn't really care, but I knew that this was the moment. I was in a position to do it. I'm going to strategically invite the right people, fill the room with the right people, create an unbelievable experience, put Galindo Group everywhere. If you noticed, it wasn't Josh Galindo's birthday. It was the GGs and the drinks, everywhere. The Lambo, the GGs, the hats, GGs. Everything had Galindo Group all over. So there's a valid argument that I exposed 300 wealthy, even if they weren't wealthy, high-level thinking individuals to my brand, which in the eyes of the IRS, I don't know how they'd see it, but it's certainly a portion of that party could absolutely be justified to be written off.
Totally.
And so to your point, that's an investment more than just a spend. But everything I actually do has a blend of investing in my brand while getting to enjoy my life. So like obviously the cars. I've been a car guy my whole life. I've had I actually last time I counted 32 cars. But I think now it's probably more. But so my point was, and I'm talking like Mitsubishi Eclipse, a 1999 sick. Jeep Cherokee, like all the different types. Like I just love cars. I love scooters. I have a golf cart. I have 5 scooters. Like I just think it's fun to have things that make my body move on wheels. But that's all with the intent of branding. When I don't know many realtors that have my car lineup. You know what I'm
Zero.
saying? Zero.
Well, if they are, they're not just realtors. They're like broker owners, or they're definitely not just a
I didn't even
realtor.
challenge that.
True.
You know,
Yeah,
honestly,
it's also hard too.
You know, so and my cars aren't rooted in paycheck to paycheck, or if I don't close this commission, I don't get to pay them. I could lock the doors to Galindo Group Real Estate, and nothing in my life changes,
And still make the car note.
and still make all the notes. You know, and so I think that's also a flex in comparison to a lot of other brokers. Yeah, you might have the nice car, but do you have to go to work every day to pay for that? Anyway, my point is that I use all of that for branding, and I've just found, here's how my branding strategy works, is you make noise, you garner attention, and then at that point, once you have the attention, people will recognize you. It reduces the awkward, cold call experience when meeting new people or me having to sell them on my brand.
Yeah.
By being recognized, people know that I'm a person of value because I speak that way. Now they're attracted to me. And once that connection hits, it is now my sole duty to convert this relationship into value for me, whether that's money, influence, friendship, whatever it is. But what happens is a lot of people go on social media and create a lot of attention and go, well, it's not moving the needle for my business. It's like, all we can do is bring the attention to you.
Yep.
It's at that point that you have to convert that attention to money,
To something beneficial.
to something of value.
If it's not going to be money.
And so to me, that's why my personal brand and branding is so important to me is by being recognized, it puts me in a position to educate the consumer on the services that I provide, and or simply just educate them. I mean, if you want exclusive time from me, it's $300 for 1 hour. That means that I turn my phone off, I stop everything in my life, and I sit there and talk to you about whatever you want to talk about.
Full attention.
Yeah, full attention. That's a rare occasion. Otherwise, everything I do is for free. You can have it. It's value add. And I've only made more money with that model.
By doing that.
Yeah. So, yeah, every single thing I do is branding. And everybody out there that is building a brand has to be the same thing over and over and over again.
I was going to say, where do you think most people go wrong with their brand early on?
Well, I'm learning. Okay, so I mean, I just learned something recent, so I'll answer your question in current time and then go back to what I learned in the journey. I'm such a creative. I've always got these cool ideas. And so I hired this marketing company, and he's like, dude, I see you, bro. I see you. You're fucking everywhere. I see it. He goes, but you got to stop with all the ideas. You're diluting your message. The ideas are great, but if you just find one that's great and pursue it, then that message will resonate with the city and they'll get it. And so he's like, I don't want to see you anywhere without the red hat. Not that I would have anyway, but that's what he said. I don't want to see you anywhere without the red hat. I don't want to see you anywhere without black clothes on. I'm like, that's what I do every day anyway. So, and he goes, change all your billboards to this new billboard, which just your face, Gotta Go Galindo and Galindo Group Real Estate. Don't change them again. Let that just marinate in the city, And so where I think a lot of creatives or entrepreneurs, because it's a creative space to be an entrepreneur, you just get too you start ideating a little too much, and you're constantly changing the message to your customer. Gary Vee always said it's not about new content or something like that and coming up with new content. It's about absorbing the existing content. So he'll just repeat the same thing over and over again. That's why everybody knows that he wants to buy the jets.
Damn, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Instead of just, because you're almost like self-cannibalizing the shit that your prior mind thought of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. When that's the best, because I learned this.
Let what you've originally thought of kind of resonate.
And hit it again.
Yeah.
And hit it again. And the people that don't want to hear it, because they've heard it too many times, they move on.
True, but you want them to.
But you are going to attract you're going to entice another follower or another person to talk with or to engage with. So yeah, that's So and then the early stages that I learned. What are some of the early? Man, you know what? Like, to me, a lesson is always rooted in how much money I made or lost.
Yep, it's a good one.
And I didn't lose. I didn't have any moments like that. What I would say where my wins were more than my lessons, I guess it's the same thing. It just has a positive tone to it. Was that everything I did was very bootstrappy. Like I was I saw these realtors driving around town with a magnet on the side of their car that looked so goofy with their goofy little face. And if you went 75 miles an hour, the magnet would blow off, literally. And I was like, I'm just going to put a sticker on my car. And then when people would say, I saw your car at the gym, or saw your car at Lowe's, or saw your car at the game, or saw your car at Smith's, whatever it was, I just paid attention to it. I was like, holy shit, that's working. And then I was like, okay, there's recognition there. I was like, maybe I should put some stickers on my wife's car. And then my wife started getting recognized. And then I was like, fuck, I'll put a logo on my kids' backpacks.
Oh, that's smart.
So now all their backpacks get embroidered with Galindo Group Real Estate. Now their friends are recognizing the brand. And then those kids go home and talk about Beckham's dad does real estate. So then I was like, okay, that's working. So it was very bootstrappy. Dude, there was a time when I went to the Knights game before they went cashless in the beginning, and same with the Aviators. I would roll in with 60 pens, as many pens as I could put in my pocket. And I'd walk up to...
Drop them at the terminals?
To the kiosk or whatever, pull the shitty pen, the BIC, and replace with a Galindo Group Real Estate pen. Smart. And I hit the whole arena. The best thing about that is I'd go back to do it again, and they were still there.
They're still there.
They were still there. Now Las Vegas is signing their checks, 18,000 fans, with a Galindo Group Real Estate pen. So smart. It's just about getting creative. And so I don't have any like, oh, I hired this marketing agency and I lost $150,000. It's like, I would just try cheap, fun, creative things. And if it worked, I would do more of it.
To get the name there.
Yeah.
I love it.
Thanks.
Okay. Here's where my plan is to end. So back in the Ty Lopez days, you remember Ty Lopez? Like a guy with the glasses.
I know the name. What is
guy with the glasses. Me in my mansion, me in my garage reading books, and he had the Ferrari in his garage.
Okay.
One of the things that I liked that he would talk about was he would summarize life in 4 categories: health, wealth, love, happiness. I'm like, damn, that's kind of cool. So like, I'm not a big religious guy, but if I were to think of like good wishes or prayers, those are good categories that I would wish well on my friends and family.
Sure.
So when I think about this with finance, this is where I want to get your take on where it is that you spend the most money in these categories. Okay. Where do you invest the most money on your health? And this could be things like gym equipment, subscriptions, and coaches. Where do you spend the most money when it comes to you and your family's health?
Well, I didn't spend a lot of money on health a year ago. And then I had a health scare. And now I spend a really decent amount of money on supplements, blood work.
That's a good one. Big underrated one.
Yeah.
No one does that shit enough.
Bro,
once a year could be life-changing.
Yeah, that health scare, when I went and got my blood done, dude, I was a fucking mess on every reading. And it took 6 months to get it all back and right. And I was like, oh, I wondered why I wasn't feeling great.
It's good.
But blood work, and then I spent a lot of money on soccer for my kids. I think outdoor sports for my kids and team outdoor sports is so healthy for them. And so I spend probably $1,000 a month just on soccer fees and tournaments and league fees and jerseys and balls and cleats and bullshit. And to me, it's teaching them how to be on a team. It's teaching them that health is important. No, you can't have a Gatorade before. It's probably not a good idea to have a Gatorade after. If you have another game, let's drink water. Let's eat oranges. Be careful with sugar, because they're constantly in athletic mode. And then their confidence is through the roof because they're all gifted athletes. So yeah, I don't know. Am I answering that right? I mean, I have a gym at my office. I have a gym membership at LVAC. I have a gym at the Ridges. I go to the gym every single day.
Supplements and activities and tests. That's
supplements, activities, and blood work.
That's good. Where do you invest the most money on your wealth? Which I think we know this, but that's got to be.
It's the most money goes to acquiring more passive income properties, which are rentals. Like what a lot of people don't even understand is, or won't believe is that, I don't know, I probably live on 30% of my income, between the rentals and everything else. And the rest goes to buying more rentals. Like it's not easy to buy rentals. Like a rental's $300,000 in Las Vegas.
Cheap. So it's not $90,000.
Right.
I mean, just for shits and giggles, what's the cheapest rental you own? Cash.
The unicorn that I always reference when I'm talking about my Midwest properties, I bought it for $35,000, and I think the rent on that is $875 a month. and I probably net like, because taxes are low, insurance is low. There's no natural disasters where I buy. I don't know. I probably net like $700 a month on it.
Insanity.
Yeah.
Okay. Where do you invest the most money on your love life? This could be dinner, experiences, jewelry.
So I don't invest money with intention into my love life, but
where do you guys usually splurge the most?
But I give my wife full run to do whatever makes her happy.
That's good.
And what makes her happy is funny shit that would not make me happy at all. So our daughter turned 8 yesterday, and
I saw that.
Thank you. She wanted to go to Target, and she does this every kid's birthday. She does this huge balloon arch and wrapped presents and cake pops. And, like if I was like, well, what'd you spend on that? To me, that's an investment. I'm investing in my wife's happiness. She enjoys giving that to the kids, showing them extreme love. So to me, it's about putting her in a place where if she wants to go out with her girlfriends, honey, feel free to go out with your girlfriends. Spend what you need to spend. To me, those are investments. And
agreed,
and
100%.
So it's not like just showering her with gifts. Mm-hmm. Like we're so past that. We're not. We're way past that.
Yeah.
But putting her in a position to where she can feel really taken care of and loved and content, and show the love the way that she wants to show it, which sometimes requires money to do that.
To the other people too. And then where do you invest most money on your happiness? Josh's happiness. Where do you spend the most money that you're just like, yeah, this is because I like it?
Cars.
Yeah. Which is a good one, because obviously the latest purchase I want to go check out if you wrote it here.
Yeah, I did. It's a great car.
To sort of end it on that note, did you have this car in mind, and then at a certain point you felt you were going to get it? Or like, did you know you were going to work your way up to this car?
No, I went in to go look at a GT3 RS.
Nasty.
Yeah, nasty. It's so sick.
Those are nasty.
Honestly, it's like so nasty that it's a little bit uncomfortable to drive.
Yeah,
and not even physically, that too.
Yes.
But like the wing on it is so big.
It is big.
Unless you pull up next to a Porsche enthusiast, if you pull up to like a regular rich guy that doesn't understand Porsches, he's going to look at you and think you have a Fast and Furious Porsche.
Cracker Jack box.
He just won't understand it. Like a Ferrari's so universal. Anyway, I went to go look at the GT3 RS. I walked in, and the Ferrari just slapped the shit out of me. And they literally moved that GT3 RS, the brand new one, the Ferrari, and Lamborghini Technica all next to each other. And the Technica was a 2024 with like 300 miles. I don't even know how freaking Nick gets these cars. And then the Ferrari is Miley, about 15,000 miles on it, which is what allowed it to be under, because normally that car is like 420,000. This car's 340,000. We haven't finalized the negotiations. And then the GT3 RS is 375. So the point is 375, 340, 375, most miles, least amount of miles. And I just fucking looked at those three cars. I was like, I got into the Technica. I turned on the radio, because the radio is a part of my driving experience.
You use a radio?
The speakers, sound system.
But you don't use fucking radio. Please don't tell me this right now. Yes.
88.9
yes.
KMPR. I do listen to that like an old man. But
a sound system is what was.
Oh, it's horrible. The Technica, they should be shot. My Huracan had a better sound system, but it's a track car, so it's meant to have zero weight. So it's like they put in fucking bedside radio clock speaker into this car, and you couldn't even hear it over the engine. And I was like, I can't buy this car just because of that. Mm-hmm. And then I got into the Porsche. I don't even think I did the radio, because I went to the Ferrari next, and the Ferrari has an aftermarket, which is not cheap to put. It's a $10,000 aftermarket stereo.
Jeez.
In this, because it's this little baby cabin. Where do you put a sub? And I turned it up, and it was bumping, and I was like, I have to take this one.
Well,
I didn't have a moment in my life. That's how that happened.
Mm-hmm. Again, more of just opportunity.
Yeah, but here's the thing: is my goal is to get an SVJ or an SV, an Aventador, because I am a Lamborghini guy at heart. But the Lamborghini is, even a base Aventador is $500,000.
Yep.
If you want an SV, now you're looking at $7 million. If you want an SVJ, now you're looking at like 800 to $1 million.
800 to $1 million. Yep.
So how on earth am I ever going to get there if I don't jump to the next price point? Like, if that's truly a goal of mine, which is a lesson to the viewers, if that's truly a goal of mine, if the payment on a $350,000 car is going to scare me, how on earth am I ever going to buy a $500,000 car? So you have to, that's the baby steps. I started out with a $120,000 Porsche. I actually started out with a $63,000 Porsche. It was a little baby Cayman. Then I bought a Karma Rivero, which was $101,000. Then I bought a Porsche GT3, 2014 Porsche GT3, $120,000. It was all, this was uncomfortable is my point. Then I went from the Porsche to the Lambo, $230,000, uncomfortable. Then I went from the Lambo, with the Lambo, I bought the McLaren. That's uncomfortable.
Forgot about the McLaren, yeah.
Yeah. So I have 2 payments, plus the Sprinter van, plus the Range Rover, plus the Tesla, plus. So my point is it's all baby steps. Now I'm at this, I'm uncomfortable. Don't get me wrong. That's an expensive ass car, dude.
Yeah.
I don't even want to know what the insurance is going to be.
Yeah.
So yes, I'm wildly uncomfortable. But if I'm committed to the goal that I'm telling myself and I'm willing to follow through with the commitment I've made to myself to get to that type of Lambo that I really desire to have, I have to take this step. And that was kind of the nice transition. I wasn't going to trade my Huracan in to just buy another Lambo.
Did you trade the Huracan in for this Ferrari?
Yeah, totally.
Good move, yeah. And do you have the McLaren still?
Uh-huh. And I love the McLaren. McLaren's a great daily.
Well, with that, that's where we're going to wrap so I can go outside and see this car. I assume you parked in the front. And thanks, man. Again, my attempt at this podcast was I like doing the talking head stuff, but I don't feel like people sit down enough and just talk about money and how they make money and where they spend their money, and especially the lessons that they've learned while making their money. I'm somebody that wasn't an entrepreneur and found myself with the opportunity to start a business with Ryan in 2020. And now after being in business for 5 years, I feel like a fucking veteran, which, as you know, it's not. Like, you're still in just completely shutdown phase. I feel like you almost always are as a business owner. But it's so interesting now to see my perspective on money versus when I was younger and like a W-2 employee.
Sure.
Because now your world, I feel like, just completely changes when not only you're in control of your income, but also your investments and where you spend your money and your, your marriage and your kids. And so, dude, you were someone perfect to talk to about this. So I appreciate it. Yeah.
Well, thank you for providing the platform. I'm grateful.
Okay.
Shout out to TrueBooks.
Yeah. Shout out to TrueBooks. Thanks.